This show started with humble beginnings on a local talk radio in Tampa, WFLA. It was about a decade ago. We eventually were picked up right after 9/11 and expanded coast to coast. Our first visual broadcast was The Insider. And I see this now. We thought this was so high tech at the time. It was way ahead of its time for anybody. The technology alone since then is stunning. I remember how we had to fight for the lights to be put into the studio so it would be a little more camera friendly. We ventured into the great unknown of webcast, but also into television. Great unknown for me. May 2006, we went to CNN. This is when we were doing the pilot. Then, in 2009, I went to Fox, where I obviously put on a few pounds. That was one of the wildest things in my life. It put me on the cover of Time magazine and launched all kinds of praise and hate for me. But it was a time where you and I were really wrestling with big things, and we didn't know what to do. We felt alone. We launched the 9/12 Project on that broadcast, which led to the first great tea party on the Mall in Washington, which happened on this date, 9/12. Hundreds of thousands of people attended. And then the next summer, they came back to the steps of the Lincoln Memorial. But what you didn't know and people didn't know at the time is while we were putting this whole thing together there in Washington, D.C., I had some members of my staff working overtime on something that would turn out to be much, much bigger in the end. But we didn't bring it in on a fanfare. We did it quietly behind the scenes. The very next day after this event, we launched The Blaze. TheBlaze.com. It was originally intended just to be a source of revenue so I could pay for all of the research that I was doing for our Fox show. I think I'm the only guy in television that ever paid to have research done to make sure we were exactly right. And I was also tired of waiting for journalists to go after stories, and we launched it with double meaning. We thought, you know what, then we'll have somebody else telling the truth as well. News and information. The first month we put this on without really any fanfare, it was more successful than we thought it would be in its first year. The first month we had 40 million page views. That's unheard of. We expected about 2 million tops. Thanks to you, millions more page views now, in the hundreds. Now we have passed the 9 million mark for unique visitors. That means just people one time coming in, different. 9 million just in the last month. 75 million page views in August, making it one of the most viewed news websites on the entire internet. Things have accelerated. I told the audience back in June of 2011 that I was going to leave Fox. A lot of people said that was a very bad idea, and it might be in the end, I don't know. But it's taken me here to our studios in Dallas, Texas. We also now have studios in New York City. If you stopped watching me on Fox, you might have thought, well, I don't know where he went. I guess he took some time off. I didn't. Just that summer, while we were building this network, we went to Poland. I did a documentary on Auschwitz, and then we ended up here with thousands of Americans in Israel to stand with courage by their side. 1 year ago today, after this, we launched this network from New York City in our studios in New York City. That was a year ago. We launched with 300,000 subscribers. This summer, we've been busy again. We filled the streets of Texas with about 30,000 volunteers for Restoring Love. And then we filled Dallas Cowboys Stadium, a story that didn't show up anywhere, really. But anybody who saw it on this network or in the stadium, they saw something they will never, ever forget. They felt something they'll never forget either. Well, today, we take the next step, something we've been working on behind the scenes. We can tell you about it now. We announced it in the New York Times today. We are now available on our first cable carrier. It's called the Dish Network. 14 million homes have us now. They're the first one. Together, we've made a lot of difference in our own lives and other people's lives and in the life of our country. We've accomplished things together in the past that everyone said couldn't be done. But believe me, what we have in store now for the future, I believe, will blow your mind. You'll see a little bit of that tonight as we begin our next chapter with our new partners, Dish Network and you. Because no matter what has happened, believe me, the left will pine for the days when I only had 1 hour on one channel.